Angel Reese got caught on a hot mic saying Caitlyn Clark got lucky. Lucky. That word is going to be the center of everything we talk about today because the box score is sitting right here and it does not have a single lucky number on it. 45 points, 10 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, all of it done in under 30 minutes of game time. A stat line that nobody in the NBA or the WNBA has ever produced in under 30 minutes of play. Not once, not ever. And Reese, meanwhile, went down on her own knee on a routine layup with not a single defender within 5 feet of her. So before we go anywhere else, I need you to tell me something down in the comments right now. Who actually had the lucky week here? Are you Team Clark, the baby goat who just rewrote the record book? Or are you Team Reese, the baby giraffe who took herself out of the game on a play where nobody was even close to her? Drop it below because this conversation is about to get very interesting. And stay locked in, because what Reese said on that hot mic and what happened right before it tells you everything you need to know about where these two players actually stand. Going into the Seattle Storm game, there was no reason to expect anything different from a normal home game on the Indiana Fever schedule. The Storm are not a pushover. They are a Western Conference team that plays real, physical defense, and they brought 2 legitimate big bodies into that arena in Dominique Malonga and Wnba Twin Towers. A front line designed to rattle guards who try to get inside and punish anyone who thinks scoring in the paint is going to come easy. Most nights against a lineup like that, a guard who is also managing her minutes after a back injury does not go supernova. Most nights, you take what the defense gives you, keep the game close, and find a way to win without necessarily lighting the scoreboard on fire. This was not most nights. Clark walked off the floor that evening with a stat line that stopped people mid-scroll when it hit the timeline. 45 points and 10 assists in under 30 minutes of game time. That sentence alone sounds like something out of a video game on the easiest difficulty setting, not a live WNBA game against a defense built to slow exactly this kind of player down. But the numbers were real, confirmed, and sitting in the official box score for anyone who needed to double-check their eyes. Here is the part that actually matters when you zoom out past the raw numbers. 40 points and 10 assists in a single WNBA game had only ever been done by one player in the entire history of the league before this night. One player. And that player is also named Caitlyn Clark. So she broke her own record before most people even had time to process that the record existed. That is the kind of loop that does not happen in this sport very often. Pull the complete line together and the historical weight gets even heavier. 45 points, 10 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks in the same game. Go look that up across both the NBA and the WNBA and you will find exactly 4 names on the list. Michael Jordan, Dwyane Wade, Luka Doncic, Cade Cunningham. Those 4 names, and as of this game, Caitlyn Clark. That is the entire list. That is every player in the history of professional basketball, men's or women's, who has ever put a box score like that together in a single game. Now add the detail that turns it from impressive to genuinely hard to believe. Jordan needed more than 40 minutes on the floor to get there. So did Wade. So did Doncic and Cunningham. Every single one of those 4 players required a full game, deep into the 4th quarter, to build those numbers over time. Clark did it in under 30 minutes and was sitting on the bench while the clock was still running. She was not out there grinding through garbage time to push the numbers up. The game was already over by the time her night was done. That same week, Clark also became the fastest player in WNBA history to knock down 200 career three-pointers, a record that took other elite shooters multiple seasons to reach, and she arrived there in a fraction of the time it took any of them. Put that record next to the 45 and 10 in under 30, and you are not looking at a hot week anymore. You are looking at a player in the middle of something that the sport has genuinely never seen before. And the Seattle Storm game was only the first half of what she did that week. Stats on a screen only tell part of the story. What actually happened inside that game, possession by possession, is where you start to understand how a box score that looks impossible actually came together the way it did. And there were specific moments in this one that people are going to be pulling up on their phones for a long time. The step-back 3 in the 2nd quarter is where the crowd went from engaged to completely unhinged. Clark comes off a screen near the top of the arc, rejects the pick entirely, takes 2 hard dribbles left to reset her angle, and then pulls up from 28 feet with a defender's hand flying into her face. No hesitation, no hunting for the foul. Just a clean pull-up from a distance where most guards are not even thinking about shooting in a live game, let alone off the dribble with contact coming. The ball goes straight through. Clean. And the crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse does not just react. They erupt. That is the shot that tells the defense that this is going to be a long night with no answer available. The transition dime to Kelsey Mitchell is the one that shows the other half of what makes Clark's game so difficult to guard. Seattle switches into a press look coming out of a timeout, and Clark pushes the pace before the Storm can get set. She has Mitchell streaking up the left wing, and instead of slowing down to make the standard two-handed pass, she delivers a one-hand push pass in stride, hitting Mitchell exactly in rhythm so the catch and shoot is seamless. No extra dribble needed. No wasted motion. Just a clean read made in a fraction of a second and executed perfectly. Watch the Fever bench on that possession, and it tells you everything about the tone in that locker room. Everyone is up off their seats. There's no sitting and watching. Hands in the air, people yelling before Mitchell even releases the shot, because the players on that bench have been watching Clark make that exact read in practice, and they know what it looks like when it is about to work. The trust on that bench is visible in real time, not just in the final score. Stephanie White on the sideline deserves a moment here too, because coaches at this level are trained to stay composed. They have seen a lot of basketball. They do not usually let you see the reaction until it is over. White was not hiding anything during this game. The look she had watching Clark operate in the second and third quarters was the look of a coach who knows she is watching something that cannot be manufactured through a game plan. It either happens or it does not. This night it happened in every direction at once. The Aaliyah-Boston connection added another layer that the pure shooting numbers do not fully capture. Clark is reading the strong side defense, seeing the second defender cheat early toward the ball, and immediately firing a skip pass to the weak side, where Boston is already mid-roll toward the rim. That is not a play that gets drawn up. That is a live read made in real time by a player who sees the floor at a speed that most guards take years to develop, if they develop it at all. Boston catches it in stride and converts, and the possession looks effortless from the outside. It is not. It is the product of a player whose basketball IQ is operating several steps ahead of what the defense is trying to take away. By the fourth quarter, the Storm were simply trying to survive the rest of the night without giving up anything else. And the Fever bench was already doing the math on the stat line, realizing in real time that they were watching something historic unfold right in front of them. That is the kind of game that makes the Player of the Week conversation feel like a formality before the voting even opens. Seattle was one half of the Player of the Week case. The New York Liberty game was the other half, and in some ways it was the more important one, because this one did not start clean. The Liberty jumped on Indiana early. Breanna Stewart and the New York front line were doing exactly what they are built to do, controlling the paint, setting the tone physically, and making every entry pass into the post a problem. The crowd at Barclays Center was loud, and the Fever looked, for a stretch in that first half, like a team that was still trying to find its footing on the road against the defending champions. New York's defense is not Seattle's defense. It is more physical, more structured, and specifically designed to make guards uncomfortable before they can get their rhythm going. The second half told a completely different story. Clark came out of the locker room and put up 17 points and 7 assists after the break alone. 2 quarters, 32 minutes split across the third and fourth, and she packed a full game performance for most guards into those 2 quarters without making it look forced or frantic. This was not Clark chucking up desperation shots and getting lucky with the bounces. This was methodical, calculated basketball where every decision had a clear logic behind it. New York's adjustment was straightforward. When you cannot stop a player one-on-one, you throw 2 defenders at her every time she crosses half court. The Liberty committed to that look in the third quarter, and it is the right call in theory. In practice, it only works if the player you are doubling cannot make the kick-out pass accurately and quickly. Clark made it accurately and quickly every single time. Sophie Cunningham was getting open looks from the corners because the double team was pulling 2 defenders toward Clark on every ball screen. Aaliyah-Boston was catching clean passes in the mid-post when the second defender committed half a step too late. The ball was moving before New York could recover, and by the time they adjusted to one threat, the next one had already become the problem. The fourth quarter sequence is the one that is going to get clipped and replayed. Clark intercepts a lazy cross-court pass near the three-point line. Without breaking stride, she rotates hard to the opposite block and gets her hand on a shot attempt before it can get off cleanly. And then, on the very next possession, she catches the ball in rhythm off a ball screen, rejects the pull-up mid-range, takes 1 extra dribble left, and rises up for a three-pointer that essentially closes the door on New York's comeback attempt. A steal, a block, and a dagger 3 inside of about 4 minutes of game clock. That sequence, packaged together, is what separates a player of the week contender from the actual winner. The final score was 108-88. The game was not close by the final buzzer, and it was not particularly close by the midpoint of the fourth quarter either. Clark finished with 4 steals and 2 blocks alongside everything else, which is the two-way box score that voters focus on when they are deciding between players who all have big scoring nights that week. 2 games, 2 completely different situations. A dominant home performance against a physical Western Conference defense, followed by a road comeback against the defending champions that was built on the kind of second half that most players never put together once in a season. That is the case that made the Player of the Week decision unanimous before the voting results were even announced. While Clark was building one of the most complete weeks any guard in this league has ever had, things were going sideways in Atlanta in a way that is genuinely difficult to explain charitably. Start with the Toronto game, because that is where the tape tells a story that the scoreboard does not fully capture. Reese drives baseline, and instead of creating contact that might draw a foul in the paint, she drops her shoulder and drives it directly into the ribs of Ariel Powers before the ball even arrives at the spot. Powers goes down and stays down for a moment, clearly in real pain. No whistle comes immediately. The play continues. But the angle on the broadcast replay is not ambiguous when you slow it down. The shoulder drops early, the contact lands before there is any basketball justification for it, and the result is a player on the floor in genuine discomfort. What happened after the game made the situation significantly worse. Reese confronted coach Sandy Brindello, who had every right to step in and defend a player on her own roster who just took an unnecessary hit. Instead of stepping back from the confrontation, Reese escalated it. And when Brindello held her ground, Reese went further, suggesting that Brindello's comments carried racial undertones in public, a claim that spread immediately and created a story that completely overtook the actual game. The league reviewed the situation, and the result was Brindello receiving a suspension connected to the fallout of the whole incident, which means Reese's shoulder on Powers cost someone else their spot on the sideline. A coach who did nothing wrong missed game time because she responded to something Reese started. Sit with that for a second. Someone else got punished for the ripple effects of a play Reese made and a confrontation Reese escalated. Then the Chicago Sky game arrives, and this is the part that the broadcast team struggled to process in real time. Reese goes up for a layup. Routine approach, normal footwork, nothing contested because there is genuinely nobody within 5 feet of her. She lands and immediately grabs her knee. The broadcast crew goes quiet for a beat before going back and forth trying to identify the contact point, because there is no contact point. No screen, no defender, no awkward collision with a body. Just a player coming down from a routine layup and hitting the floor in pain on a play where nothing happened to her. The timing of it against the national narrative could not have been worse for her. At the exact moment Clark's Player of the Week numbers were spreading across every major sports media outlet, Reese was being helped off the floor in Atlanta on a non-contact injury with no explanation available on any camera angle. The contrast did not require a headline. The images told the whole story on their own. Go back to that quote from earlier in the season. The Michael Jordan of the WNBA said on camera with full confidence. That framing only works if the tape backs it up. This week, the tape went in a very different direction, and the gap between the quote and the reality became one of the loudest stories in the sport without Reese saying another word. Once the Player of the Week award became official and Clark's name was everywhere, Reese responded. Not in a press conference, not in a formal statement, but in the kind of comment that travels fast anyway because someone always has a phone nearby, and these things always find their way out. She said Clark got lucky. Lucky. That word coming after a 45-point, 10-assist, 4-steal, 2-block performance in under 30 minutes of game time, followed by a 17-point, 7-assist second half against the defending champions, is a sentence that falls apart the moment you put the box score next to it. There is no version of the argument where a stat line that nobody in the NBA or the WNBA has ever produced under 30 minutes of play is the product of luck. The defense does not accidentally stop guarding you. The ball does not accidentally go in from 28 feet off the dribble with a hand in your face. The live dribble dimes do not accidentally find cutters at exactly the right second. None of that is luck. All of it is the result of a player operating at a level the sport has not seen in this particular combination before. The context around the comment makes it land harder, not softer. This was not something said in the heat of a game. It was not an in-game chirp that comes with adrenaline and competition as a built-in explanation. The award had already been announced. The numbers were already public. The league had already processed what happened and made its decision. And with all of that information available, Reese's response was that Clark got lucky. That is not frustration in the moment. That is a considered position, which makes it harder to dismiss as a slip. This is also not the first time this pattern has appeared. Go back to college and the same dynamic existed. Clark would put up a remarkable performance, receive attention for it, and somewhere in the response from the other side of that rivalry, the framing would be that the attention was unearned or that external factors were responsible for it. Go back to draft night and the coverage around it, and the same framing surfaced. Go back to early WNBA season media coverage debates, and the same argument kept appearing with the same structure. Clark's success is something handed to her rather than built by her. That pattern is not a one-time hot mic moment. It is a habit, and it is one that the tape keeps contradicting every single time the argument gets made. The fan reaction to the comment spreading was immediate, and it was not kind. Timelines filled up fast. Screenshots circulated. And instead of sympathy for a player who had just come off a frustrating week capped by a non-contact injury, Reese got ratioed in a way that suggested the public was already tracking the full picture of her week, not just the injury. The lucky comment handed people a punchline they did not have to create, and they ran with it hard. Compare that to how Clark and the players around her handled the same week. Sophie Cunningham shooting open threes when the double team pulled defenders away. Aaliyah Boston finishing at the rim when the defense overcommitted. Kelsey Mitchell spacing the floor and staying ready in transition. A group of players letting the game speak for themselves without needing to say a word about any opponent. One group was busy playing basketball. The other group was busy commenting on it. And the record book shows exactly which approach produced the better result. While everything on the court was unfolding, Clark's week off the floor was running its own separate record-breaking story entirely. And the two things feed directly into each other in ways that matter beyond just the headlines. The Nike deal is the place to start because the number attached to it is the largest in WNBA history. That is not a small distinction in the context of the sport. Nike does not write the biggest check in the history of a league for potential. They write it after their analytics team has already run the numbers on jersey sales, search volume, viewership spikes tied directly to a single player's game nights, and the way her name travels across platforms that reach people who are not already sports fans. Clark checked every box on that list before the deal was ever announced, and the terms of the agreement reflect exactly that. State Farm's decision to name Clark their first-ever female lead endorser is the one that says the most about reach. State Farm is not a niche brand. It is a national institution that runs campaigns built around trust and familiarity, the two things that do not get manufactured through highlight reels alone. Millions of people who have not watched a single WNBA game this season know who Caitlyn Clark is. That is the crossover quality that a company like State Farm is betting on when they put someone at the front of a national campaign, and Clark is the first woman they have ever made that bet on. The first one, in the company's entire history. Then there is Wilson, and this is the one that needs to be held up directly next to that Michael Jordan quote from earlier in the season. Wilson gave Clark her own signature basketball. Go look at the list of players who have had a signature ball from Wilson. You will find exactly one name before Clark's, and that name is Michael Jordan. Not Kobe, not LeBron, not any player from the current era of the sport. Michael Jordan and then Caitlyn Clark. The company that makes the actual ball the game is played with decided that only two players in the history of basketball deserved their name on a signature model, and Clark is one of them. That comparison is not coming from anyone in the WNBA. It is coming from a sporting goods company's product line. Gatorade's deal adds another record number on top of the Nike and Wilson agreements, and they went further than just the endorsement contract. They built Clark a signature flavor, Rainberry, sitting on retail shelves with her name on the label. Gatorade signature flavors are not something the company offers to players in growth mode. They are offered to athletes with the kind of sustained public presence that makes the product viable at scale across multiple years of shelf life. That is a long bet on someone who is not going anywhere, and Gatorade made it without hesitation. Forbes and Sportico have both independently run their analysis and landed in the same place. Most powerful female athlete on the planet. Highest paid player in the WNBA when you count all income streams together, not just the league contract. Those rankings do not get written in a vacuum. They are built on the same foundation that the sponsors are already reacting to: viewership, cultural reach, name recognition outside the existing fan base, and the ability to generate media cycles around performance. All of this moves together. The 45 and 10 in under 30 minutes generates a clip. The clip generates search volume. The search volume generates new viewers who had never watched a Fever game before. The new viewers generate ratings numbers. The ratings numbers get reported. The reported numbers land on the desks of the marketing teams at Nike, State Farm, Wilson, and Gatorade. And those desks respond with the largest deals in the history of the sport. The loop is visible, and it is running exactly the way the people who built it planned for it to run. And the week that produced the history on the floor also confirmed, in every boardroom that matters, that this particular loop is only getting faster. Run the full week back one more time, and the picture is completely clear. One player put up 45 points and 10 assists in under 30 minutes, broke a record that no one in the NBA or the WNBA had ever touched, then closed a road game against the defending champions with a steal, a block, and a dagger 3 in under 4 minutes. The same week, her name went on the largest Nike deal in WNBA history, on a State Farm campaign that no woman had ever headlined before, and on a Wilson basketball shared with exactly one other player in the entire history of the sport. The other player shouldered an opponent into the floor with nobody calling it, got a coach suspended in the aftermath, and then walked off her own court holding her knee on a play where nobody touched her. And when the award was announced, her response was that Clark got lucky. Lucky does not break records. Lucky does not close games. Lucky does not get your name on a basketball next to Michael Jordan's. That is preparation, discipline, and a level of execution the sport is still catching up to. So drop it below right now. Team Clark, the baby goat, or Team Reese, the baby giraffe? Like the video, subscribe to Clark Spotlight, and turn on all notifications because we are bringing you every story as it happens. See you in the next one.